Well, hello everybody, and welcome, to another tutorial with mikeymegamega. Alright, so everybody, this is hopefully, and I say this every time, going to be super quick. You guys have gotten all in the comments and told me what you like. That is freaking awesome. You want boob tutorials, you want bum tutorials, you want leg tutorials, this, that, and the other, poses and different things. And I was thinking, brilliant, right, let's do a boobs tutorial, let's do like an arms or a pose thing. And I started thinking that, well, in order to kind of like build some walls of a house, you need to lay the foundations. What I'm talking about here is that if we're going to do bums, bums are on torsos. If we're going to do boobs, boobs are on torsos. If we're going to do like limbs and poses, you tend to start at the head and then work to the torso and then do the rest. So, as such, we are going to quickly bust out a bit of a torsos tutorial. The reason I want to do this is because it's easily overlooked. There's a lot of complex things happening in a torso, especially when you've got like a sexy female anime character going on. And it's really going to be a very good foundation for when we do the later tutorials where we start talking about all the other features and bits. So let's crack on. I'm going to bust out a few examples as ever. You lovely people, grab yourself a sheet of paper at home, get yourself a pencil. I've got this super cheap mechanical pencil, a rubber which has kind of gone stale, I think. It's not rubbing out amazingly well. In case I make mistakes, that's pretty much it. So yeah, follow along at home. Come join me, everybody, as our drawing adventure continues. And basically, really simply, we're going to just talk about the basic building blocks, the basic shapes. All right. So that this video doesn't become super long, we're going to crack on straight away. We're going to start with an example over here. I'm going to make my construction lines really dark so that it shows up nice and clearly on the camera phone. Usually I would work way lighter than this. And what I hope to kind of do for you in this video is just kind of highlight the relationship between how long a body might be compared to how kind of large a character is overall, and also how to kind of start drawing the torso in different sort of viewpoints. And it's such a kind of big important thing to get involved with, because really sexy anime characters, like their hips as well, hips and bum are a massive player, and you need to kind of have a good torso shape and a good understanding of that kind of structure and anatomy to really make your characters kind of stand out, in my opinion at least. So here's a head. We all know what we're doing here. We know what we're looking at. Is that clear on the camera phone? Yeah, of course it is. Now, you've probably seen before, I've done tutorials where I talk about characters being maybe cute ones, about 6 to 7 heads in height. So, bearing that in mind, what that kind of tells us is the torso is usually going to be somewhere around a 2.5 head heights long. So, if we just take this head height here, in fact, let's, here we go, it's a playing card. Let's mark it off from the top of this playing card to this point here. We've got 1 head height. It's a really bad example. Just get a ruler, everybody, if you're less lazy than I am. 2 head heights. So I'm going to say that the bottom of the torso, or basically where it kind of meets the legs and, you know, the hips and so on, is going to be about there, roughly, as a really kind of rough guide frame. Now, what I like to do firstly is generally draw a line just to kind of show the weight of the character, how it's going to be standing, and where the body's going to flow from. And then I generally like to just lightly indicate where I'm going to have the shoulders and indicate where I'm going to have the hips. Because the shoulders are level here, I'm going to have hips level as well. As a general rule of thumb, it's nice to kind of make them counterbalance each other when you can. And we're going to dive straight in. So if you see my other tutorials, you're probably really familiar with this. We've got this long, imagine like an egg, basically, where we're going to draw the bottom part of the egg, the wider part, and instead of a bit where it kind of goes into an eggy point, which would be around about here, we're instead just going to really just slope that off really gently to be some of the back shoulder muscles. Let's drop a little neckline into there. So here's this ellipse, and this is representing the rib cage. A lot of people tend to make them quite short if they're not careful. So remember, don't be too scared to make the ribcage a touch longer. And then we're going to do a flatter, upside down version of this, which is going to be the hips. So it's all about that width and coming across. So if I start to really just throw out a wide shape here, and again, another oval shape around about here, but again is incredibly flat on this side, because the legs are going to drop off there, you've got the rest of the body. here we really have the two most important main starting points. Again, I'm looking through the camera phone. That looks fine. Trying to keep some space because we'll do a couple other examples. And now if I just pop a line in, I'm going to show you where the front is for this entire situation. So this is like a guideline, and the chest is sloping down here. Here's the front of the chest to about there. And then, depending on obviously, because everybody's got different body types, so this character's going to be fairly trim. This is now the flat stomach line, and then it just curves in between the legs, right where the privates are, basically. So for this whole zone, we get to kind of join up these two areas. These outside curves here and this outside curve here are on display, so to speak. These are kind of like the hip flexors for hip joints. They're kind of popping out the side. It's real big news. So we're going to leave them kind of standing out on their own and then just build up a bit of a kind of tummy shape here. So if I go up here, that's fine. And I might just bring this in here as well. Come down like that. So we've got a bit of a body shape. Now I'm just going to throw on some shoulder circles. Do like doing that. Indicate where the limbs are coming out. And then this whole kind of zone here is where the stomach muscles are on a character. So if you imagine this, and this is just like a construction line mayhem. I'm going to do some better examples in just a moment. And then you'll notice that the stomach, I mean, just feel out your own muscles like on your tummy. But it kind of comes in and then it all curves right in down here as well. The lower abdominal wall curves right in, and then it gives you the opportunity to obviously just have some legs coming down off of characters. So we might have quick leg there, quick leg there, just as an example. Lovely. Okie dokie. So there you've got a super basic idea. If we go on a face here, I like to do a halfway line around about here. And with the cuter characters, I keep the eyes below the halfway line. When you do a lot of older characters, you can actually get away with putting the eyes almost right on there. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to have the hood of the eyes down here. Maybe some big old pupils. Why not? Kind of looking over in this direction. Pop a line to indicate a nose, and then another line to indicate a mouth. Why the deuce not? Not going to worry about any boobs, or if so, we'll just make them really petite for this character. So just a slight hint of boobage there. That might come up here, and then there'd be a slight hint around about here, perhaps. But nothing to shout home about. So these are kind of a basic two kind of elliptical shapes that we build up our torso with. So just as important as all of that is talking about the back side as well. Not the back side as in the arse, but the actual back of someone, the actual back of the torso. Because there's loads of weird muscle groups going on in there, which do need to be very quickly covered. So I'm just going to power my way through and talk about this. So let's grab a character. We're going to have someone kind of kneeling down maybe. So I'll put this a bit lower. So let's just pop a head in here. This one's going to be kind of looking back over the shoulder. So if we pop in a face around about there, and then just bring it up over here. Lovely. That's a little halfway. Then I'm going to have some shoulders around about here, and then 1, 2 head heights is going to be roughly around about here is where this is all going to stop off. So, guiding line to represent essentially the spine. It's kind of going to curve in there because the top of the shoulders pops out, and then the rest of the back tends to slowly slope in, and then it all pops out again around the hips. So this kind of gives you an idea. Much like this is the front line going down a character, this is going to be the spine, the back line that goes down. So we've got this kind of shoulders areas in. Again, I'm just diving in with this kind of big elliptical shape. Because they're kind of, this character looking back over itself, kind of hunched and checking over its shoulders. Let's pop a shoulder circle there and a shoulder circle there. And then on this side, and I do apologise for making it so loose and rough as ever. You know how it is, just got to get a quick tutorial out and explain some basic shapes. Keep it a masterpiece at your own home. I'll try to make another one, which is slightly better quality in just a sec. And then we've got the whole hip area here. So again, it's doing this whole wide thing. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to follow this line, I'm actually just going to curve it round just to indicate a bum. So let's bring this, instead of flattening off, because we're looking at the back side this time, I'm going to bring this all the way around as a circle to the middle, like so. And then I'll do a similar thing here, all the way around, back following that hip line to indicate a bit of bum, bit of a wobbly bum there, wobbly line. So let's get some joining areas in from the sides. So here's a hip flexor, well, it's not a hip flexor, it's a hip joint going up there. And then really, if we just kind of pretend that this character is going to be kind of here, and they'd be kind of putting their hands down on the floor like that, this leg would probably come off here. So it's probably going to be a whole load of thigh and ting going on there. Maybe the leg's going to come back out here. Super awful quick sketch. Maybe on this side, kind of like that. Something like that, anyway. Let's just get this limb ever so lightly indicated. Let's talk about the back. Brilliant. So what have we got going on when it comes to sorting out the back of the character? Let's make this face a little bit smaller, just so it's not so hunched. Okay, this is going to be even cuter now, so it's maybe the face is going to go here, like that. Lovely. Now, what I want to talk about here are, firstly, the shoulder blade. So if we have a nice curve where the shoulders are, that's fine. But on the back, kind of almost halfway between the middle of the spine and the edge of the shoulder circles, you're going to need to kind of indicate where the shoulder blades are. And they're generally indicated by this sort of angled line, and then obviously a much shallower one depending on your angle when you look the other side. And there's basically a good bit of muscle around about this area that kind of, you know, articulates your arms at the shoulder. It's all part of how you actually are able to move. So it's usually worth indicating that to some more or less degree. And when it comes to the spine as well, so this is actually the proper middle now of the back, it's usually worth indicating a bit of shadow around here where the spine comes in. And most important of all, which I quite like, is that when a bum comes up, you can always just put a bit of a V in there. That's always a winner. And also, you can indicate bum dimples. Now, some women have this. It's a really weird thing. There's like a little cute dimple you can get above the bum. This is where the muscle joints meet in an area called the superior posterior iliac spine. Yeah, that's right. I know my homework. And it's around the lumbar region. And basically, it looks incredibly cute. So if you're doing your sexy anime stuff, you might want to consider popping some of that in. I mean, I'd tell you to maybe just look up bum dimples online, but it's probably not going to be a safe for work search. So just, you know, keep to the artistic side, not the etchy side. Let's drop a big boob in there, just as a little tease on the side. And again, there we've got this really rough flowing lines for the back of the torso area. So I hope this is kind of making sense so far. Each time we've got these two main shapes once we've worked out their kind of distance and how they're going to be. Okay, that's still showing up clear enough. So let's have an example where I'm not going to rush through for the sake of this tutorial. Let's go a little bit slower. So my construction line is not going to be too crazy heavy on this one, only in that as long as I don't make a freaking rubbish image, or idiot, that I'll use this as the like thumbnail or the cover image for this tutorial. And whilst I'm drawing this as ever, let me say a great big thank you to all of you lovely people at home for watching these tutorials. That actually really helps me out. And, you know, commenting and subscribing and telling me what you want to see next. I bloody love it. Bloody love drawing, so it's a win-win, if anything. If this tutorial helps you, I'm really, really happy. And even if it didn't, I'm still having fun because I bloody love to draw. And hopefully you guys do as well. Okay, so here's our head. Here's our character. Like, in fact, this is more than halfway up the head, I dare say. So we probably have the eyes really low. I mean, like, we're going to go super cute on this one. We'll work out in a minute. I'm going to have the shoulders around about here. And this head is going to be, well, this head is about this big. So I'm going to go 1, 2 torsos. It's going to basically take me down to around about here. So let's have a line that comes in this way. The body's going to be angled more to the right, even though the head's off to the left to kind of indicate that. And we're going to go again and just start smashing out these ellipses. Nice and light this time, for the sake of this picture. So I hope, let's see if that does show up. Yep, just about on the camera phone for these kind of ellipses, maybe a touch darker. And you can see I'm drawing less of the shape all the time. The more used to it I am, the less of the shape I actually have to worry about. And we end up reaching a point, just going to rub this out because I've realised it's clearly in the way. You can actually start, once you get used to things, just imagining the guide shapes. And you might find that you're just drawing the outlines once you get really good at it. Guidelines, for me at least, I think is a great way to start. Once you understand the basic building blocks of the character, it frees you up to do that character in all sorts of different poses and shapes. And once you get really good at it, you just start to understand the natural curves that make up the human form. And you can just start drawing them in straight away. So yeah, knock yourselves out. See how you go. Have a go at this. And then a bit of homework for you all. I'm not a teacher. Do it if you want it. I don't care. Have a go at lots of torsos. You really need to keep kind of getting this under your skin to really get used to the feel of it. So we're going to have a pose like this. I've thrown the hips right over to the left to indicate the body's going to the right. Just so we've got a bit of fun weight going with this character. So to help make this work, I'm just going to indicate a bit of leg weight really. So let's have it go off there. Now, what's really fun with a leg that props up a hip that's kind of sticking out is it creates this lovely single curve I'm a big fan of. So here we've got this hip curve coming round for this torso. And I'm actually going to follow this curve all the way around now to indicate the leg that's propping it up. So we tend to, with anime drawing, start at the head, then the torso, and then all the bits kind of sprout off. Obviously, if you're doing a very particular pose, you might draw a different part of the picture first, something that has more importance. But this is just kind of a general rule, especially when you're playing around with your character design. All right. As ever as well, tell me what other tutorials you want to see whilst I'm, you know, filling in and drawing this, because I will obviously try to get round to them in good time. So this leg's going to be off here. This is the middle where the privates are and where the legs aren't quite going to reach in. So from the front, we're going to go back to the top and we're going to talk our way down. We've got this top ellipse here. We've got the neckline dropping off to where the shoulders are. And I'm going to bust out, as ever, a couple shoulder circles, just to indicate where that might be. I'm going to draw some lines in to indicate we're going to have an arm. It's maybe coming over here. And then we'll have like this one will be waving or something. So we'll have an arm that goes here. Should be like, hi. And I'm going to just use this quick opportunity to really quickly pop that in. There's usually an elbow joint that sticks out the bottom here. So we're probably going to have a little further nubbin down there, so to speak. And then the shape of the arm goes in here. Always thins out by the wrist, by the way. Thickens out as it meets the joints. And then we'll pop a hand round about here. What will it be doing? Probably going to have a better angle on a hand. This is where the thumb is. It's going to come off like that. Don't worry, it's not a hand tutorial, so it's not going to be perfect. That's my get out of jail free card excuse there. It's not a tutorial about hands, so if I draw a really shit hand, you can't be mad. Although I have done a tutorial about hands, based off of somebody else's tutorial about hands. So just watch theirs, if anything, as opposed to mine. Let's get that finger up there. And then let's get another finger a touch shorter up there. Oh, that's really left me unhappy. Don't worry about that. Anyway, I'll do that bit in time lapse. So what we were actually talking about was just getting these arms out the way. Let's put another circle in there. Let's put a limb down there, and then this hand's just going to be, I don't know, dropping off, minding its own business, just so to speak. Again, we'll worry about that later. More importantly, the torso. Okay, so here's the outside edge of the ribs. This is going to be an external line, and we're just going to, as it starts to curve in, drop in the midsection around about here. This gives us the opportunity to really show how far out to the left this hip's popping. And what it means is that our centre line, where the middle of the tummy is about here, and then it's going to be kind of coming in here, if this makes sense. And this whole area is going to be where the abdominal wall comes back into the middle. So if we start with this being the bottom, and then coming up around here, it's going to just follow this natural curve up and around like so. And because it's slightly off to the side, it's going to be doing it even more on this side. Hope this is making sense to you guys. So here we've got where the side of the stomach becomes an external line, and then around here, come down with a line there, this is where the hip joints, the hip bones are really sticking out and doing their thing here and here. So now that we've got this in, I'm just going to imagineer this leg line to come around about there for leg 1. Let's just draw in a little bit of the underside of the rear of the bum, and then another little bit of underside of rear bum there, and then this leg's going to come off there. So don't worry, obviously there will be a legs tutorial in the future, unless you're watching this video a long time after I've made it, in which case there might already be a legs tutorial available from me. So let's get those out of the way and just really understand about this whole important area. So when we come down here, there's plenty of ways to draw your characters, and a lot of them involve the legs not quite touching. The thighs don't quite meet in the middle. You know, everybody's got different body types. What it often means is you have to draw just a tiny bit of the underside of the bum in the background, just so that it actually looks a bit more natural, otherwise there's nothing missing. And then at the front you've got the private. I keep saying privates, I'm not saying, you know, the other words. And then a belly button's around about here, vaguely. This is kind of our abdominal muscle area, and then the ribcage zone is all around here. So it's this ribcage zone where we'd actually hang the boobs when we actually get to our later boob tutorials. As a general rule of thumb, the basics are start below the shoulders, and then it's not quite a perfect circle because boobs don't work like that, but they kind of hang, and they hang away from the center line of the body. But I will obviously do an actual tutorial about that in the future, so don't stress. Let's try to get like a curve in here that doesn't look really, really weird. That will have to do there, and then I guess, oh, because it's coming off to the right, this one's going to have to go out a lot this way, actually. These boobs are really popping out sideways. I've just realised how I've actually been drawing this. Let's make this one, yeah, that's right, actually using a rubber for once. Come in a little bit further. Why the deuce not? Lovely, now we're cooking with eggs. And then let's come round for this one. So it's going to be right here. It's going to be going off to the side up to about here. And obviously doing its own curve back in there. Okay, so there we have it again. Another, and let's look through the camera phone. Good. Another torso built off the shapes. We've got this elliptical zone here, and this wide flat elliptical zone here, and we kind of really join them together. We dictate where we're putting these shapes based on where we kind of indicate our shoulder line and our hip line, and we know how far apart to keep these based on the size of the head of the character. Okay, brilliant. So I'm going to try my best to probably rework this and make a picture out of this framework. I'll stick a character basically on top, and then I'll come see you at the end. Okay, boom, and there you have it, everybody. Right, so you'll probably notice that actually, as I was filling this and basically putting a character on top, I really got into it, and I gave a dark skin, and then I really started getting into the shading. And the reason why I decided to do that is because there's so many muscle groups and nuances in the torso that a lot of the time you won't get the opportunity to actually mark out these things with solid lines unless you're drawing a male character where you get to be more aggressive. With female characters, often you can only really describe a lot of the shapes by throwing in a bit of shadow and kind of light play. So that's why I've gone in a little bit heavier than usual and slightly, you know, maybe overworked it if anything. And then I just took the opportunity to pop back to this one just to kind of highlight the areas of the back that you might actually start getting involved with when you're drawing the torsos for your own characters at home. And then I very quickly realised that I was drawing this character completely naked, so I had to remove the nudie element and pop on a pair of knickers just at the very, very end. So this is basically it, guys. This is all about the fact that you need a solid bit of framework. Once you've got your anime character's head in, you need to understand what you're going to be doing with the torso, because that is your building block from which you're going to be putting on the limbs, you're going to be putting on the bums, the legs, the boobs, whatever. The clothes are going to go on top of her as well. Obviously, we've gone for very scantily clad ladies, just to obviously talk about the actual figure and the tone. But it's like absolutely core. So you've got to get their cores right so that you can get the core of your own anime drawing correct as well. I really hope you guys found this useful. I wasn't 100% sure whether to do a tutorial just on the torso itself, but I think it's probably best that we got one out of the way, just so that when I start talking very quickly about torso shapes in later tutorials, you guys are going to know what I'm referring to straight away, and it's going to help us move along quicker in the future. So as ever, this tutorial wow, has run a lot longer than I thought it would. Again, I do apologise. Thank you so much for watching at home. Click like, you know, click subscribe if you're not already subscribed to my channels, where I've got loads more tutorials and things. Your support means the world to me. Obviously helps me eat and things like that as well. And over here, bing, we're going to put like something. It'll be a link maybe to a tutorials playlist. And then over here, kind of somewhere, blah, it'll just be a subscribe button. Why the hell not? Okay, awesome, guys. Get in the comments. Tell me what you want to see next. Keep your suggestions coming for the Sexy Anime Saturdays. We've got video games and other bits coming in the future as ever. Bloody love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.